Welcome back to the Unraveled Podcast. My name is Nina.
And my name's Alina.
And today I wanted to talk about being burned out, how to get yourself out of a slump, how to basically deal with the variety of ups and downs when it comes to this industry, but then also as a business owner in general, as a person.
Just
Challenges and how we can, I guess, keep ourselves going. So the first thing I was kind of thinking about was burned out. So
definitely been there before.
And my coach is talking to me a lot about it, about how there's things that you can do proactively to stop yourself from getting burned out. You can leverage, you can hire people, you can go on vacation, do things. But I was curious about what's the one thing that you do to kind of keep yourself balanced? Because, this industry, sometimes everything's going great. The next day, everything could be going horrible. And it's a lot of ups and downs. And how can you keep yourself stable through all of it?
So before I mention that, I do want to explain what burned out means, just for some people who have never experienced that before or have gone through that. Basically, it's when you've overworked yourself and you're burned out. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to use burned out.
You're over it.
Yeah, you're over it. You don't want to do it anymore. You're done. You're exhausted. And you're just tired of it. Basically, that's what burned out means.
And oftentimes it doesn't matter. Like, you could be making so much money and you do not care.
Right.
You just want to quit. You want to go to sleep for 10 days. You're kind of over everything, everyone, no matter how good your life may be.
And that's exactly how I feel when I'm burned out. Even to the point where I'm just crying because I'm just so overwhelmed. It's too much. And it's just overwhelming, to be quite honest. It's been a while since I've had a burnout. I think my last one was back in 2021.
Damn.
Everybody was probably burned out then. Because I had probably closed, I think a little over 10 million in sales, which was the most I've ever done in a year. And it was overkill. It was overkill to get to that. And I love the money. I love doing it, but it doesn't change the fact that it required a lot of work. And I don't think I even had a transaction coordinator. No, I did. I had an assistant at the time. And it was just too much. I would literally be on the phone with my sister sometimes just crying because it was just overwhelming. And she was like, you need to take a step back, you need to breathe a little bit, and then go do other things that you enjoy. Because I have a really, really hard time going and doing things that I enjoy outside of work. I love my work. I enjoy it, but I'm talking about things outside of work.
Yeah.
And so I really got into traveling that year. That entire summer, I literally just spent time by the pool, enjoying the warm weather and just traveling. And for me, that's what I did to release myself of that burnout.
Yeah.
And it can be different for everyone. Everybody everybody has a different way of coping with their burnout. But for me, it's just going and focusing on something that I enjoy that I haven't gotten to do. Yeah. And for me, that was traveling, spending time with friends, and being by the pool. Literally, I was literally I don't even remember going into the office that summer. I literally, the pool was my office.
Yeah.
I would literally sit by the pool on my computer. And although I was still working to some degree, it just felt different. It was a different scenery. It kind of helped me get through that hurdle of being done, exhausted, because I was just changing my scenery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, probably at that point you didn't have as much leverage as you do now, or systems in place that kind of help you take some work off of yourself. I just came back from a conference where one of the panels, they talked about how to buy back your time. And it was from a book. And I'm still working through it. But the premise is that you need to divide your business into 4 sections. So, within real estate, for example, you have your property management side, you have listings, sales, closing gifts. I mean, there's so many different layers. And you need to divide it into 4 sections. The things that you need to do more of, the things that you need to stop, the things that you need to bring in that are new, and the things that you need to do less of. And basically divide your whole business up into those 4 sections, and then ask yourself 2 questions. Does it make me money, or does it bring me joy? And then they basically said, if you find anything that doesn't make you money and doesn't bring you joy, but you still have to do it as a part of your business.
Oh, I was going to say throw it away, but
well, because you still need it as part of your business.
Sure.
Then you need to hire that out to somebody else. And so they said for people that are control freaks, and I definitely am one, it's a good way to kind of break down where to start from. Because if something is not a money-making thing and it doesn't bring you joy, you need to hire somebody else, because for them, it might bring them joy. And
what would you say for someone who doesn't have the resources or the funds to hire somebody? What are your thoughts on that?
So
it's okay not to have an answer. I'm just curious what you think.
Well, no, because when I first started, I didn't have any way to do that either. So I think probably just organizing your schedule better to where you do have downtime and putting safeguards in place.
Sure.
And it's easy to prioritize sales, right? Because it's a very competitive industry. But realizing that if you're not careful, you might hit your goals, but then you'll be so burned out, you won't be able to do anything for 3 months. So realizing that throughout the process, kind of pace yourself, do this and then take a weekend vacation, take time off, disconnect. I didn't do that very well, but that's something that somebody could do. You don't have to hire. You can just stop yourself and say, hey, you know what? I'm taking the evening. I'm taking the afternoon. That's probably the best way. Just kind of organize. And
that's a good idea.
Don't compare with people that maybe have a whole team.
That's so true. Or just comparing in general, but definitely comparing with the people that have team, because it's a completely different ball game.
Yeah. Comparison is, what do they say? Comparison is a killer of joy. It's definitely true, because if you're comparing yourself as a newer agent to somebody who's been in the industry a long time or they have a big team, they of course will be doing more. But you have to think about, how can I keep myself mentally strong, grow my business at the same time? In fact, I heard a quote the other day, and I put it as my screensaver, that the goal is to improve, not to prove.
Goal to improve, not to prove.
So I am competing with myself. As long as I can see that there's improvement in my life, I don't have to prove myself to anyone. I don't have to prove myself and compete with other people. As long as I'm doing better each day, each year, that is really the win. And eventually, by default, you will get better and you will probably start to compete with people. But if you focus on competing with people, you'll just do whatever it takes, regardless of if you're actually able to handle it or not. So I saw that and I thought it was powerful. What are your thoughts on...
Very good quote.
Yeah, I put it as my screensaver. I was like, girl, you need to remember that.
I have a quote for a screensaver too. Mine just says, be thankful for everything, the highs, the lows, the ups, the downs. A little different, but I like a good quote screensaver.
Yeah. Snap yourself out of it when you're in some kind of mood.
Right.
What do you think, is something, because we talked about new agents, what about an agent that has years of experience in the industry? They have a lot of business. They might be managing a team, or, they have people working for them. What is something that they can do to kind of maintain that flow and that stability through, this industry is up and down all the time.
I think it's kind of like what you said earlier, delegating work to other people. I know over my, years, that's basically what I did. Because if you're, one solo person trying to handle a large workload, it just may not be practical for you to do, especially when you can help delegate small tasks to other people to handle.
Yeah.
And as I'm kind of thinking about it, I asked you earlier, like, what can you do if you can't afford an assistant? Something that you can do is there's virtual assistants that are really, really cheap. And there's also people that you can hire for specific tasks, which are great as well. So those may supplement being able, instead of hiring like a full-time assistant and paying them $30K a year, you can do stuff like that.
Yeah. Virtual assistant, you can go to Fiverr, you can, there's different ways to leverage things out.
But basically, I would say leverage, delegate things that you don't have to do, that don't require you specifically.
Do you have like a go-to reset when you're feeling like out of whack? Is it like to take a trip somewhere, take a drive?
It can be a little bit of everything. For me, so here's the funny thing. So I have a really, really hard time of taking time to myself. Like there are certain things that I really enjoy doing outside of work, but I feel guilty doing them. I feel like if I'm not working, if I'm not bringing in income, then like, what am I doing? Like I'm wasting time.
Yeah.
Even on vacations, I feel that way. And one of my goals this year was to really get out of that feeling. And how I've learned that I developed that is because when I was younger, like living in a household, when we weren't doing it, my siblings, we weren't doing anything, our parents would be like, y'all are being lazy. You guys need to go find something to do. There's always something to do around the household, even though like we're even though I was just sitting there watching TV or, you know, just trying to do my own thing, I always felt pressured into having to be actively doing something and not ever having opportunity to relax. So I feel like that's created me into being this person as an adult where I feel like I can't sit and relax. Mm-hmm. Girl, I'm sorry. What was your question?
No, I mean, that kind of answered it. Because in my family, and I wonder if it's like a big family thing, because there's so many of us, I mean, there's honestly always so much to do, but also the only way you could stand out is if you did something extraordinary. Whereas, you know, it should just be, hey, we love you for you.
Right.
Right. But for you to stand out of 13 siblings, what awesome thing can you do that they're not? So on the one hand, it makes you an overachiever, which you could then be great at what you do, but then to slow down, force yourself, you know, sit and watch something without working. Mm-hmm. Who is she? We don't know.
Right.
So things like that, where, as an example, I'm going to go to the movies tonight where you can't be out on your phone working, right? You have to actually be still and watch.
Right.
So things like that. So, I don't know. It's an interesting topic because people have been raised differently and they handle things differently.
Sure.
I call it, have your mental get well list. Like,
that's a very good idea.
So, for example, like if you got a flu.
I think you mentioned this to me before.
Yeah. Like if I got a flu, what's my go-to, you know, cup of tea, medicine? What is something I know, okay, why do I feel this way? I need to work tomorrow. Okay, what's something I can quickly do to make myself feel better? So in the same way, if I'm starting to feel off emotionally or psychologically, what are some things that I can do to kind of
get back on track?
Mm-hmm. And I have a list because sometimes the first 5 don't work. You know, but by the time you get to number 6.
Maybe I should do that for myself because honestly, I don't know. Like I guess because I've only really ever had like one burnout. And for me, that was just like changing the scenery and going on and traveling. That worked for me. I would still be working during all of those things, but it just made me feel less pressured and that I was doing something different.
Yeah. You changed up the scenery.
Yeah. So but I guess that probably is what it is for me. A change of scenery. Mm-hmm. If I got to go to the library and work instead of my office or the coffee shop and work instead of my office or just something different. Like sometimes even I get sick of going to the office. So I'll literally sit in my bed with my I literally have a desk for my bed.
Yep.
And I'll sit there and work because I need a change of scenery. And I think that's probably even how that may help people prevent getting burned out.
Yeah.
Is a change in scenery.
Yeah. But it's intentional. So you have to really make an effort to do it. And in my first year, I didn't know. And I just kind of did whatever it took. Mm-hmm. But I think if you are newer and you're starting out, then just be proactive in things that you do to keep yourself all there, stable, mentally strong. Because it's definitely the industry where it's the easiest. I think they say there's the most alcoholics, drug addicts, and wow. Mm-hmm. You know? So, yeah.
I believe it. I honestly do.
So, I guess if you guys are seeing this video, if you're watching it, let us know in the comments some things that you like to do to keep yourself mentally stable or to kind of reset your mindset. And we can maybe talk about it in another episode.
Until next time.